Hi everyone. Okay, so it's like week 2-ish, week 3-ish, somewhere around there of trying to wean down. I have been working with a lactation consultant, and I'm in a couple of groups that are specific for surrogates who are pumping on Facebook, and I see a lot of the same comments of, I'm trying to wean, I'm gonna go cold turkey, da da da. As we saw last time, I went cold turkey last time, you guys. It was rough times. It was rough times. If you guys have not seen that video, it was rough times. I was in pain. Like, even when I made that video, I think I was still very, very full. And so this time I did not want to do that, like I said. So I've been working with her, and it's been, I didn't expect it to happen overnight, and I didn't want it to happen overnight. I don't know what I was expecting. The first week, last week when we were pumping, or when we were trying to decrease the amount of time I was pumping, so shorter sessions with more time between them, it just made my supply go up. And this week I'm happy to report that my supply is starting to go down. I mean, it's not a lot, but it is going down. So the last 3 days are the first days that I haven't hit 60 ounces in all month. So that's really good. This was also my second week back to work, and that threw a little bit of a monkey wrench in it, because last week after my work week, I stayed in Las Vegas and had an appointment Wednesday morning, so I can still do my normal pump schedule. However, last night was the first night that I drove home directly after work. So normally I drive up the day before I go to work. So if I work on a Sunday, I go up Saturday night, and I'll work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and as soon as my shift is over on Tuesday, I'll come home, which is about a 2.5 hour drive. So last week I didn't have to do that. This week I did, and it threw a little bit of a wrench in things, mainly because I was tired. I really want to get rid of this middle of the night pump, you guys. It is rough. I am struggling with it. The problem is, if I don't pump in the middle of the night, then I wake up like I did this morning at 3:30 and get almost 18 ounces out in one setting. I mean, I was so full that I woke up not because I was in pain, but just because I was so full. Had I gone back to sleep like I planned on and not pumped till this morning, I would have been in a lot of pain. But like this morning, I woke up because I was turning over and they were blah blah blah. They were just big floppy things, and I was like literally like putting my body pillow right here and like setting my boob on it, like to support it, because it was pulling too much. So I talked myself into getting up at 3:30 and pumping, and I had to pump a little bit longer because there was so much more in there, and I don't seem to respond to the Spectra as well anymore, since I introduced the baby Buddha. And so it took a little bit longer to get me to a point where I felt like I was comfortable enough to go back to bed. So this morning was a little bit rough. I met with my lactation consultant again today via Zoom. And she was like, but what we're doing is working. This is probably just a fluke because you slept through that pump. Because I came home last night. You guys, I get off at 7:30 and then and then I have to get in the car and maybe have to stop for gas, and all that stuff takes time. So I'm not on the road. On the road anywhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. I try to get gas beforehand and do those things so I don't have to stop, but it doesn't always work out like that. And I was maybe about an hour-ish from home when it was time to pump last night, and I made a decision to go ahead and pump while I was driving, because I wanted to come home and just go to sleep. I didn't want to come home, unpack, get some food, unpack the pump for a half an hour or 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it was. I just didn't want to do it and then go to sleep. And then get up again at 1 or 2 and pump again. I wanted to come home. I was tired. I wanted to come home. I wanted to go to sleep. I was done. So I made the decision to pump at my regular 9 o'clock time frame. And then when I came home, I turned my alarm off. If you guys are watching this and you're like, oh, I want to follow a surrogate who's pumping, let me just tell you, if you aren't getting sleep at night, your body doesn't have time to rest. So my biggest pumps are usually my morning pumps or my middle of the night pumps. They haven't been lately, which is awesome. My middle of the night pump actually is kind of dropping itself. The last couple of nights, it's been like an 8-ounce pump, when normally it's like a 12 to 14-ounce pump. So I don't know if it's just the spacing out and less time is catching up with us, or it might also be that I get up in the middle of the night and I'm like, as I'm pumping, like falling asleep. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm turning these off. So I like turn them off real fast. I don't let them empty all the way. So I don't know if it's a combination of all of it, but I will be real excited to get rid of that middle of the night pump. So when I came home last night, I turned off my alarm for that 1 o'clock wake up session because I just needed to sleep. And so I waited for my breasts basically to wake me up on their own, which they did, and I was very, very full. I will say that is the most milk I have ever gotten out in one pumping session, and I legitimately only missed my pump time by 2.5 hours. But because I got up late, it pushed everything else off kilter as well. So my 6 o'clock pump has not happened yet. Me and the lactation consultant, her name is Allison. She's on Facebook, the Milkmaid LLC. She is doing Zoom sessions if you guys need some help either increasing or decreasing supply. I am the first surrogate she has had who, and so she's like, this is a little bit different because normally I'm trying to increase supply. I think I've said that. And so she's like, this is a whole different thing. She goes, but what we're doing is working. She goes, your supply overall is going down. Your middle of the night pump is going down. You're not uncomfortable. So let's try, let's try and stretch these pumps a little bit more and decrease the time a little bit more. So that's what we're going to do. I think, and what she suggested last week, I don't know if I covered this last week, was adding in the birth control. I do have the birth control. I have not taken it yet. I'm very hesitant to take it. You guys, I didn't want a hormonal birth control as an option this time. I had the copper IUD placed, the Paragard. It's the 10-year IUD. It has no hormones in it. I look at it like this. I have been at this surrogacy thing since I was 31 and I'm 37 this year. So almost 6 full years of either hormones or pregnancy hormones, self-inducing pregnancy, things like that. Plus I've been on birth control since I was 15, 16 years old. That is a hell of a long time to be on hormones. Like even birth control, you guys, I look at it, it's almost like hormone replacement. Like they are regulating, and I just kind of want to let my body do its own thing. And so I was all ready and gung-ho to take this birth control, and then the pharmacy didn't have it. Ooh, excuse me. So I had to wait. So had I probably gotten it right away and they'd had it the same day like they thought they did, I probably would have started it the same day. But because they didn't have it, it delayed me getting it in my hands by like 2 days. And in those 2 days, I started to go down. I was at 60 exactly, and then I was at like 57. And then the next day I was at 57. And so I was like, let's just see how Sunday goes. Let's see how this goes. And then Sunday was at 57. So I had a bunch of days where I was below 60, and I was like, okay, it's working. What we're doing is working, so I'm just going to hold off on this. I didn't tell my husband that. My husband thinks I'm taking it. Whatever. So I talked to Allison about that, and she said, she thinks what we're doing is working as well. She understands where I'm coming from. And we're going to give it another week or two and see if I keep going down. Like maybe this was just a weird dip because of work or stress or sleep or something. And, if it continues to go down on its own, then cool. But if I plateau, and I came to this decision on my own, if I plateau off where I'm not dropping anymore, and or it goes back up, and I'll start the birth control. But I don't want to take it if I don't have to. So that's what we're doing. I do, like I said, I do feel like I'm not responding to my Spectra as well. It took me a lot longer to empty last night. Partly, I think, because I was very, very full. So full when if you nurse your own kids, when you nurse your kids and they haven't eaten in a while, and then your nipples are hard and they can't latch, so it makes you even more full, but then you're having a letdown and it makes it even more full. That's how I was. I was reaching in underneath my phalange and doing this, trying to soften up the tissue around the nipple because it was so stinking full. But I was not in pain, so that is good. That is my guiding force, is my discomfort. Hi everyone. Okay, so it's the middle of the stay at home. I went back to work. I've been back to work about 4 weeks now, something like that, and have been pumping at work. I have been working with my lactation consultant to get the milk to go away because there's still so much of it. But at this point, we are at yesterday I actually hit my first day where I was not at 40 ounces. So I had a one-off where I was in the 30 ounces for the day. I don't think that today will be that day, but the last, I think, week I've been under 50 ounces consistently, which is super amazing. I'm really excited about that. We're to the point now where we're thinking we're going to start to have to take drastic measures because it's the beginning of May. It's May 7th. And I really would like to be done pumping by the end of this month. So we're thinking we're gonna have to make it a little bit more aggressive in our maneuvers. My left side is getting the idea. She's like, sure, we'll listen and stop making quite so much milk. And my right one is going, what? No, we're not. We're going to keep making all the milk. And we're going to make so much milk that we can feed an entire freaking family of 16. So every day for the whole year, we're fine. We're going to just keep doing it. Righty is not getting the message. So we're thinking we're going to have to take some real drastic measures. My morning pump is my biggest pump. And usually it's averaging anywhere between like 13 to 18 ounces depending on the morning. Some mornings are much bigger. If I get better sleep, I've noticed it's a lot higher. If I don't sleep quite so well, it's not as high. Obviously, I don't want to get crappy sleep, so I'm just sleeping, so it's usually pretty high. But yeah, it's we got to get her on board. Like, they're visibly lopsided. They are. I can absolutely tell, like, they're like slanted like this. Like, from my view, they're not straight. They're like this because the right one is just so much bigger. But they're catching on. We're getting down there slowly but surely. But yeah, I think next week, because I have a short week home this week, next week I talked to my lactation consultant yesterday, and we're going to cut ounces now. Instead of cutting time, we're going to cut ounces. So it kind of goes hand in hand. But I've basically been stopping pumping when I get to the 160 milliliter mark, or if I'm really uncomfortable, when the breast feels comfortable. So I'm going off more feel than I am time. So my times pumping can range anywhere from 10 minutes to 20 minutes depending, which isn't necessarily the best practice because we don't want to stimulate as much. When we stimulate more, it tells the body there's more suckling going on. We need to stop that because it releases more of the hormones that make the milk, and we're trying to stop that. So we're going to start cutting ounces. We're just gonna, when we get to a certain point, we're gonna cut that in half, and just leave it alone. So I'm gonna do that next week. I'm gonna start that next week because I don't want to start it now and then be uncomfortable. So I'm trying to plan it so the painful parts will be here at home. I had a couple of days where I was in pain. Like yesterday, was my low pump for the day, my all day, and for some reason at 4 o'clock, my left side was in excruciating pain. It was not even that it was super full, but it was like when your milk starts to come in again, I was getting it over here underneath my armpit. And it was tender for probably an hour after I pumped. I could feel the knots of milk in it. It emptied and I couldn't feel them anymore, but it was sore. And I pumped late by an hour at that 4 o'clock pump, and that was all it took. I was just in pain, which is funny because the day before that, I missed my 11 o'clock pump by 2 hours. So more than that, almost 3 hours. So I usually pumped at 11. I didn't pump until almost 2, and I was fine. I was completely comfortable. But that 4 o'clock pump yesterday was rough times. Ooh. And I had another night where I wasn't paying attention and I over pumped and I pumped past the point of empty. And I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I had saturated the bed, saturated my shirt, saturated everything. There was milk everywhere. And that one was really uncomfortable, but I'm gearing up for that. I think I'm coming to the understanding that I'm not going to really have a choice now. I'm going to have to do that. And that there's really no other option. I'm going to have some discomfort here. I was really trying to avoid it, but if my goal to be done by the beginning of June is going to happen, I'm going to have to start getting drastic measures. So, yeah, it's working. it's working. But I am real nervous that my boobs are gonna hurt. So this is me throwing a tantrum. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. All right, guys, I will keep you updated.